Hello and welcome to Let Me Talk to My Customer. I'm your host, Chad Counts, along with my co-host, Richard Tyler. Rich, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, I can't complain. We're in rainy Southern California here, so we are excited to have some moisture, and always a good time of year for us to enjoy that because we get so little of it. All right, we have a great episode for you. We will be doing some sales training as well. Coming up to end this month, we have a new salesperson training that we're going to be putting together. So if you have any interest in joining that, please reach out to us on our Facebook page, accountsbusinessconsulting.com. You can find me at LinkedIn at Chad Counts and our website, accountsbusinessconsulting.com, for more information there. But otherwise, you know what, Rich, let's get into it today.
All
So
right.
we're going to talk about the value of being first. And I think that means a lot of different things depending on your job or your background or whichever context you find yourself in. There's always some sort of value to being the first in to a position. And in particular, in sales, I think this is something that often, even though it is intuitive, I think in a lot of ways for sales, I don't know that salespersons or managers or those involved in our industry and our sector value this highly enough. And so we're going to talk about three situations where the value of being first is very strong, and we can maybe talk through where we captured this enough and maybe areas where we need to put more effort in and more investment into being first. And so speaking of being first, the first area we're going to discuss is being the first to get a sale. Okay, obviously anybody wants to be the first to get a sale. So what do I mean by this, right? So most of our interactions, our transactions with customers will no doubt result in a quote. We don't quote everything. I'd say we still quote only 40, 50% of our opportunities at best. And of those opportunities, we typically convert about 20 to 30% of those quotes. Okay. So while we know that being first to a sale matters, we're still only at a point where we capture 20 to 30% of the 40 or 50% that we actually capture. And so from my point of view, while we want to obviously close the sale, I don't know that we do enough. I don't know that we ante up enough or pursue overcoming objections enough, or that we pursue speculative deals enough early on to lock in an order. And part of that is there is so much value in being the person who gets that customer to agree to an order first. Okay. And there's a couple of reasons why this is the case. If I am the first person to get the order from my customer, then I also get the first opportunity to correct that issue correct that order if an issue arises. Okay. So if you give me your $500 order, Rich, even if there's an issue on your end, you find a price better somewhere else, right? You still are going to contact me again, right? Even if you want to change that order. Okay. Right. So if I'm the first to get your bid, I at least get a second opportunity no matter what, right? It's basically impossible to get rid of me without at least giving me another shot.
Right.
The other aspect of this, if I get your order first, even if there's a problem on my end, again, I get a second opportunity to get that corrected. Maybe I need to ask for more money. Maybe I can go to an alternate part. Whatever the case may be, if I'm the first one in, that means I'm also getting a second opportunity. I'm the first second opportunity as well.
Okay. Can I ask you to expand on an idea here? You said overcoming objections in order to be able to do this. And I think we're all fairly familiar with that. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by a speculative order?
So a speculative order, I would say, is, maybe we know we have a vehicle, but we've got some notes where it's in the hold lot, or I think I can get it from a broker's facility for a certain price, but I'm not sure, right? Plenty of times where salespeople don't complete an order or stop it at a quote on their own end because they lack some sort of confidence in being able to complete that request.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever that case may be, you are always wrong 100% of the time. You're always wrong as a salesperson if you stop at the speculative part of your order. You should assume that whatever you see out there is good, and assume that you're going to be able to make that deal 100% of the time. That is going to bite you a little bit if you ultimately can't fulfill like 10, 20% of those orders. But by and large, for the most part, whether it's your own part or whether it's going to a vendor or something else, you are going to be in a much better position if you lock in that order right away. And again, we go back to, we're only capturing 20 to 30% of 40 to 50% of opportunities. By being more aggressive in assuming orders can succeed, whether that's an extra sale or a secondary inventory item or ordering from another vendor, I'm expanding my pool, right? Instead of only quoting 40 or 50% of the time, maybe I'm quoting 60 to 70% of the time. And even if I'm not converting anymore 20, 30%, I've still increased my pool of what I'm going to take home and what I'm going to sell. Right. But I would say, if you assume in a really positive and aggressive manner, you're going to increase both. You're going to increase the rate that you're quoting, and you're going to increase the rate that you're converting, which ultimately are the two most important things that a salesperson can do, right? Of things in your control. So don't try and solve problems ahead of time. Get the sale first and solve problems later, right? That's the value of being first. Because if you can put yourself in that position, more often than not, you are giving yourself the next chance to save or correct or deal with any problems that come. And that's ultimately the position I want to be in. I've got 2 chances now to finish off this sale if I get it up front. The other side of that is occasionally there are customers, both recyclers and end customers, that order more than one part, right? And they might, it's a race to see who fulfills it, or it's a race to see, who gets that component, or the best component gets the best price, whatever. I still want to be in that situation. I still want to be one of the persons that's in there jockeying for a position and jockeying for that final price. And so in order to be that, I've got to get my hat in the ring as early as possible. Speed is a very underrated element. We have a lot of parts that we have too many or we don't expect to sell, and we get better leverage. So let's say I sell a part at a price point that I'm going to need a $50, $100 discount from my vendor, even more than what I think I normally get. Am I in a better leveraging position as a salesperson by going to that vendor and saying, hey, I've got this sold at X? Or am I in a better position if I go to that vendor and say, hey, I can get this sold, but I would need it for X? What's better leverage, Rich? Having it sold already, or saying I could sell it if?
No, it's having it sold already. It's letting them know this deal is done. Now I need you to do X.
Right. I want to put pressure as a salesperson on both ends of the spectrum. I want to put pressure on my customer to go ahead and make this order today, and that they're going to miss out if they don't. And I want to make pressure on for my vendor, and even to an extent, my production staff. My production staff doesn't know if they can get this out on time. Well, guess what? If I wait and ask them, I'm losing time. I might as well put the pressure and buy time later. Yeah. Right. And say, oh man, it just missed the truck. I need an extra day. All those things. Production gets more done when they're under pressure anyways. They hate it. They hate that sales puts them in that position, but it's my job in sales to put pressure on my production staff, right? Okay. Secondly, Rich, and I'm going to turn this one over to you. The second area where it's best to be first is the first person to convert somebody into being a customer, right? So I'm talking about Joe's Auto that they call around, they're on Car Park, they do this, that, or the other. They don't have a preferred vendor. They don't have anybody that's their option 1A. It's just whoever pops up to the top of the list. What is the value in being the first person to convert them to being a one vendor or a priority vendor kind of guy or gal?
Well, obviously, adding them to the salesperson's book of clients is going to be a huge value. It's also going to be a value for them to be able to bounce off whatever it is that's going on in their particular marketplace with an exclusive seller.
Yeah.
Whether that's them finding the part somewhere else, whether that's them needing it by a certain time, can you get it done? A lot of times when we're developing a customer, we'll be able to foster that flexibility so that it won't really matter. They just prefer doing business
Yeah.
with us.
So I think two big areas where being first and getting a customer converted, obviously on the salesperson's end, this makes a big difference, right? I get ready-made orders. There's less battle about price on an individual ticket because I am promising service and I'm promising a better time frame. When you talk to some of these more independent shops, mom and pop shops across the country, as a salesperson, do you talk to them? How much time do you spend ordering parts? Right. And don't you find it difficult? You're juggling getting repairs through, dealing with your customers on your end, everything like that. If I could save you 2 hours a week, if I could save you 30 minutes a week, whatever that is, time is the most limited commodity that anybody has. And so if I can sell them on time, they're getting an ease of transaction, they're getting an ease of order. They know they're getting as good a price as I can do 100% of the time. They're not going to get the best price in all those situations, but they're going to get the best time and service that they can get. And this benefits everybody. I got one person to go through. When there's an issue, I've got countless other tickets to where I can make this right or I can make it up to them. There's a lot of value in converting that customer into full-time customer, an ongoing customer. And that backs up into our first, right? Being the first to get the sale. That puts more of my sales in that bucket of I am their first priority. I get the first bite at the apple. I want to continue to stack myself in that position as much as I can as a salesperson, because that gives me the most potential to grow. And it's not just a singular deal here. This is exponential. The more first priority customers I have, the more first orders I get, that gives me more time to hunt and develop customers down the road, right? If I'm a salesperson, I'm constantly needing 2 to 3 calls, chats, transactions to get a sale. I will never be competitive against salespeople that get a first call, first sale order. I mean, I'm going to be 2 or 3 steps behind them, not just on that order, but ongoing on other orders, right? Yeah. So this is a high priority. It's a priority right now. And you were talking about the cons of this, even from a salesperson that recently lost some big accounts. What kind of impact does that have of even losing accounts like that where you're the first priority?
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, in the instance we were talking about, this is a veteran salesperson who lost 2 really large wholesale customers because they got scooped up by, a nationwide chain, that changed their buying. So it has an enormous impact.
Yeah. So they're hard to replace. They're hard to come by, but they will last a long time, right? The value of being the first one to get this customer's business, to sell them on a relationship, is tremendous, not just even from a transactional perspective, but like you're saying, this built up to $15,000, $20,000 in orders per month, right? What is that annually? What is that 5 years out? So there's not enough salespeople that spot those customers and say, oh, okay, this person calls, sometimes they order from salesperson A, sometimes salesperson B. Even on my own counter, I can tell this customer doesn't have a sales rep.
Mm-hmm.
And even in their phrasing, I saw in Carpar, I saw here, I saw there. I'm not hunting them to try and convert them. Say, hey, I know you're going and doing this and scouting all this. You think you're saving X amount of dollars. How much time do you spend on that? And what is your time worth? And if you just called me or emailed me or Skyped me or texted me, how much time could I save you in that? Right? So thinking through as a salesperson on what you can do in that situation. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, and we'll get out of here on this, being the first to call back on a quote, being the first to follow up on an order, right? So let's say we whiffed, we didn't get the sale on that first interaction. At least I've got to be first in the door on those secondary orders. And as a salesperson, this is great. I don't understand why we aren't better at this. And I think you've seen from several top salespeople, they are really good at this.
Yeah.
Or they can be, that at least I'm going to be the first back on the line on all these best tickets and top tickets or most likely to sell, right? So talk a little bit about what advantages it gives you when you're the first person to reach back out to your customer to lock in a deal.
Gosh, there's so many. Number one, obviously it allows you to be able to make a rebound, if you need to, if we need to readjust anything or fix anything, and it allows us to be able to, I think maybe find out if there's a reason why we didn't get the order. If it didn't go through,
Right.
Why not, to give us a better understanding of what we could do differently in the future. And I'm also thinking that it is really an opportunity as well, just to be able to expand a ticket or generate another quote.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, this, like our second point, really leads back to point number one. This is similar steps in work ethic to be able to be the first to the sale. Yeah. Even if they found somebody else with a better price. Okay, if I match them, will you go with me? If I beat, where do I need to be to snake this deal from? It's fair game. The part isn't repaired. It's not done yet. So if you get back in there, it just gives you multiple shots at the same opportunity, right? And ultimately, that's what we're after, right? We want to lock in sales and lock in opportunities. And it's amazing to me when you look at these quote boards and you see the value that's out there, and you see what these salespeople sell in a day or sell in a week and sell in a month, how little attention or priority they give to these precious few, right? These are sales that if I called back and I closed, that would equal my daily average, right? Or be 50% of my daily average. And I'm talking about allocating 30 minutes of my day to equate to 4 hours of production, 8 hours of production. Do the math, right? Just stop and think. You need to be first. And if you can be first in just a few of these key areas, you can dramatically change your sales numbers. So I've seen one other thing that I was thinking about on being first to a customer. I've noticed just a handful of salespeople that really work LinkedIn or work other situations where that they are not just waiting for phone calls. They're not waiting for those opportunities. They are also doing outbound calls or being out in the community, even digitally these days, to try and make their presence known. So, I mean, that's part of what we're doing here on our podcast, is being first to our customers. We want to be their first opportunity for sales training, for consulting, for advice. And so what steps are you making? What steps does your team make? What priority do you put on being first? Because I think all too often we're trying to be right on our price point, or we're trying to be right on this. And, you look at the quotes that are lost, and if you could increase your conversion rate or quote value rate 5-10%, each of those, it's going to be worth quite a bit more than if I'm 5% off screen price, or if I'm 10% off screen price, or if I try and buy production time and lose a little bit of overtime because they had to stay 5-10 minutes to process another part. All else being equal, get the sale. get the sale and we will deal with the problems that come with it.
Right.
And I think that can be relieving, hopefully, salespeople and sales managers that are watching this. Hopefully that's a relief to you. So often we're trying to be perfect in all these other areas that we lose priority number one. Priority number one is get the sale. Stop them from calling anybody else. Stop them from going anywhere else. Lock in that order. Push through whatever objections you can. It's not enough to sit back and let that be a quote, because now you're giving somebody else an opportunity to take a sale that should be yours, right? And that's how you should prioritize it. You really want to be more on the front foot and prioritizing getting as many of these orders done as quickly as you can, okay? So that is the value of being first. We hope you take that time to consider it, think through your day, think through the opportunities that come your way where you're all too happy to sit back and let somebody else jump in first or jump in line in front of you, or you just don't push it as far as you can to make that opportunity of getting a deal done first, okay? So thanks for joining us again this week. We love having you guys. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell or like our content on there. If you want to leave a review on Apple on your podcast feed, that's great to get that as well. Any and all feedback we get from you guys helps us tremendously. So hopefully we hear from you down the road. Again, reach out to us on our social media channels on Facebook, LinkedIn, and our website, countsbusinessconsulting.com. And we hope to hear from you guys soon. So enjoy the rest of the first month of January is almost, of 2020 is almost, sorry, 2021, woo, is almost done. It feels exactly the same as 2020. So I don't know why we're calling it anything different. And our tech overlords, we've survived the first month here. And hopefully we're not getting shorted out there in the market as many people are. Anyways, all right, that's enough from us. Thanks everybody. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your month. All right, cheers.
Take care.